All right. Good morning, everybody. My name is AnaLaRai, and I'm coming to you from Vancouver Island on the west coast of Canada, near Seattle. And it's my pleasure to be with you here today. And I was really thrilled. I've heard Laura speak so highly of your church and your organization and all of you. And so I'm really excited to be here today. So so what I thought to do is I was sitting here with my guides this morning and sort of getting a feel. And I know at one point, Laura and I had talked a little bit about talking more about the new consciousness of Earth. And I know she shared some of that information with you, but I got today that I'm going to be doing some different things. So what I'd like to share with you is I'm going to give you a real short version of my journey and what I do, just how that all came to be. And then one of the beings I channel would like to start with, and I'm a download of your original blueprint. It's called Your Essence of Purity. So we'll do a little download of that. And they're usually pretty strong. So I was like, do you really want to start with that or do you want to end with that? So normally I would do questions at the end, but I think you might be kind of zonked out. And then I'm going to do I don't know who yet, because that's the way I work. Someone's going to channel. So I'm going to bring in a message or an activation or I don't know what. So we don't pre-plan. It kind of limits things. So my guides really like to work with who's present and the energies and all of that. So does that work for everybody? So I guess, okay. All right. So let's get started. The first thing and most important is let's get started by connecting to the light. And so I'm going to ask everyone to close their eyes and just see, feel, or sense as I bring in that pure source light. And as this is coming in, I'm going to ask each of you to consciously connect to your highest self. And my guides don't say higher self anymore. They say highest self. So whether you call that your God presence, your soul, your I am. And if you don't know, just set an intention that you're connecting. And just feel as we bring in this pure source light. And you're welcome to consciously connect with any of your own guides. And just feel there's all these angels coming down. Though I don't usually see it this way. So they're coming into your church space and into each of the homes of you that are online. So if anyone doesn't want that, speak up now. We're just setting the energy for everyone to connect. And they're asking if you're okay. We'd like to create a group heart with the whole group today. Is that okay with everybody? Okay. So let's just, all right. So they're going to create it through me. So just see or feel now, I'm going to send a pink ray or ribbon from my heart to connect out to everyone. And I'm sending an extra one to Laura. Okay. And then what we're going to do, we're doing it because all of you know Laura. So we're going to do it. I'm going to send a pink ray out to from my heart to each of you, but we're going to ask Laura to also send a ray of whatever color she chooses out to each of you and to me. So we're sort of double held, and you're held with someone you know and trust, and also with me to create this group heart. So what color are you going to send, Laura?
Mint green.
Mint green, perfect. And I'm just going to send now also to Laura and everyone a golden ray from my heart. and it's going to go right through your physical body, through your heart chakra and out the back. And it's going to wrap around with this whole group and everyone, even that's listening to the recording later. And it's going to come around all the way around the circle, and it's going to connect in with the back of your heart again. So it's done a whole circle around everyone, starting and ending in the back of your heart. Okay. Just feel now as we're going to send some love and light to everyone through this pink ray and this golden ray. And Laura's mint green ray is helping hold the group as well. Greetings, beloved ones. We are first light, and we are a collective consciousness of beings that speak as one. We overlight the alchemy collective consciousness who AnaLaRai channels. And we wish to offer you our blessings and our gratitude for your coming together weekly to share and to connect your hearts and to explore and to hold the light. It is groups as yourself that assist in the awakening, that assist the planet and the collective consciousness as we move forward. And so just feel, if you wish, as we also send our blessings and love and light from Source directly into each of your hearts now. And we will turn this over to AnaLaRai, and others will speak after. But we wish for her to share a little bit of her journey with you. We are first light. So I never expected to be doing any of this. So I grew up in a Christian home in Canada, in Northern Ontario, a place called Sault Ste. Marie, right on the US border with Michigan. And I went to church and, all those things as a kid, and taught Sunday school and all that. But around 16 or 17, I rejected everything and pretty much was atheist for many years, wanted nothing to do with spirituality or God or anything. And so it's really kind of funny, well, I guess. And so what happened for me was it really got started when I lived and worked in Russia. And I had some, deep traumas come up. And eventually when I moved back home, and there was no one in my family that was intuitive, there was no one that saw ghosts, there was nothing in my family line that I ever heard of. So it wasn't like it was there. And basically what my guides have since told me is that this was not to be my journey this lifetime. And Laura, I don't know if you even know this. So my guide showed me. So eventually what happened is that so when I started to awaken, it was with crystals. And a friend of mine who I got to know placed this crystal in my hand, and she says, I think this is for you. And I was like, they're pretty, and it started to vibrate in my hand. And I almost dropped it on the glass table. It freaked me out so much. And a whole series of things had happened. I had read the book, The Celestine Prophecy, and a lot of people just kind of laugh at it because it's fiction, but it really helped start me on my awakening path, because what I did is I started following the coincidences. And of course, once you start looking at coincidences, then they start lining up and happening all over. And that led me to a series of different things over time and space. And eventually what happened was I found friends recommended this woman that was coming from Australia to Canada to do a 2-week silent retreat. So if anybody knows me as Laura does, silence just isn't in my wheelhouse very much. I'm a channel, I talk. And I got real big hits on it. And so when I looked on the website for it, friends said, go look at it. I felt all this electricity run up and down my body. And back then, I knew that was a divine sign for me, because in my early days, that's how spirit, source, God, whatever label you have, or my highest self would get my attention. I knew it was divine truth. And it was just like putting your hand in an electrical socket. It was so strong. And so I went, oh, and I stopped and looked, and I was unemployed at the time. Okay. So to be going to a spiritual retreat for 2 weeks when I'd never been to one that was silent and I had no money was not really there. And I looked again the next day and I got hit again. And I'm like, and I really was, when those things happened, I listened. So I took the last of my money, like not my savings, of every penny I had. And I was job hunting. I was unemployed. I was in a job hunt, and was interviewing. I was an HR director in hotels, and I went and signed up for this. And it was outside of Montreal, which was the next province over for us. And it was in this isolated place, but it was close enough I could drive. And all the other people were coming from the US, and then the teacher from Australia. So I took my last money on a hope and a prayer. I don't know how I even got there, and went to this retreat. Well, the teacher was from South America. She was Latin. So she couldn't do silence either. I don't think we had even half a day of silence. And she talked more than I did. And so we're sitting in these circles on the first day, and everybody had to introduce themselves. And I knew nothing. I mean, I was as beginner as they come. And here were all these people in this circle that were what I would call the first wave. The first, these were channels and teachers and healers from New York City and California and all over the States that had been doing this 20 years, and this is 20 years ago. So they were like at the beginning. And I was like, I knew nothing. So the very beginning, the first days that we'd come out of meditation, and people would share and say, oh, I've been up to the Ashtar command ship, and I talked to this ascended master. And I'd be sitting here, honest to goodness, thinking, oh my God, I'm with a bunch of Looney Tunes. What have I signed up for? Like, oh my gosh, because all I would do is fall asleep. I'd never even meditated before. All I would do, I would fall asleep. So about the third day, I can remember saying out loud to myself, if I don't have an experience soon, I'm going home. Okay. Because this is crazy. These ladies are, it was all women. These ladies are a little bit like way out there. And I was the youngest by far as well. So I now know, be careful what you ask for me when I say it out loud to the universe, because, it happens. So the next day we go in, and she's doing a guided meditation to some place I've never heard of, some place called Lemuria. I'm like, okay. And so she says, well, we're going into the water, and you had to take your brain out and put it in a hammock so that your mental would stay out. And so we go, and she guides this meditation. And I'm staying a little bit awake for this one. And all of a sudden the meditation's over, and I hear my voice. Like, I'm still deep under, which I don't understand, but I hear my voice speaking, my actual human physical voice. And it's saying, I have my tail again. I have my tail again. And I had full memory, full memory of being a mermaid in Lemuria. Full memory. And I knew in that moment that I hadn't made it up. Like, it was this so real for me. which of course freaked me out, but that's a whole different thing. So I thought I better stay. So the next 2 weeks was this on again, off again, falling asleep and dealing with, little bits and pieces that I would get. And then about the second last day, it was the full moon, and we were doing this meditation. And my teacher really was big on full moons. And so we were laying down in our circle, and we were doing something with the heart chakra. I don't really even remember what. And I went deep, 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 deep. And probably some of you have had the experience where you hear someone in the room, but they feel like they're way down a tunnel because you're so far gone, but you can hear a little bit of them, but it really does feel way far, far, far away. And I heard the teacher, I heard Mariel, and she was saying, it's time for lunch, pack up your stuff. And I'm laying on the floor. And I am literally I'm no exaggeration here, pinned to the floor. I couldn't move a finger because it was divine bliss coming down into me. It was like a rain shower. Like it really felt like I was being rained on a heavy storm, but it was pure bliss. And I had never, ever experienced anything like it, or even to this day. And my whole body was just being literally blissed out, drops and drops of bliss. And I couldn't move, nor did I want to, but I really couldn't move at all. And all of a sudden I hear her in the distance, stop, sit down. Something's happening here. Be quiet. And it's just, and the only way I could ever describe it is the closest feeling I could tell you. It was like having an orgasm through your whole physical body at the same time, just that wouldn't stop. And it was incredible, absolutely incredible. And so eventually, as everybody's waiting, I can move a tiny wee bit. I can't talk because it's still happening. And all I could do was sit upright. So I sat up and I went like this. I put my hands out like this to everybody on both sides, and the whole circle hold hands. And then I don't know how it happened, but 3 waves of love and light and energy went around, and everybody in the room experienced it. They just went, and everybody got hit with this energy. And I couldn't talk for, I don't know how long. And, and that was really where my deepest awakening started. And I mean, it was addictive. I mean, once that happens, how do you not want to keep moving forward? And so from that, at the end of the week, the second week, it was, we need 3 people to support the group and who are going to be trained to be teachers, and the guides picked them, and they picked me, and I was like, ooh. So when I left, I went back to my full-time corporate job, and you were supposed to meditate every day. I started meditating with the full moons. So, and when I started meditating, I would you're supposed to do the 3 days before the full moon, 3 days after. That was what she wanted. And it was like exercising. I couldn't get it. I would sit and my grocery list would go through my brain and what I had to do tomorrow. And I couldn't get my mind to still. And I'd look and I go, okay, I must have been in half an hour now. And I'd look and it'd been 2 minutes. And so I had the hardest time. And finally I did this every month for almost a year and nothing. And then one day I got up and okay. And I'd been an hour and I had no sense of it. So finally it was like that. When I say it's like exercise, it took that practice. And then I started, being able to meditate. And I organized the next gathering or retreat that she had in Canada, which we had out in British Columbia, where I live here on the West Coast. And that's when and then our next one was in Hawaii. And when we were in Hawaii, so I had been trained at that point as a water healer. That's what the training was. And the next level was teachers training, what they called Mumara. And so we were at the retreat and there were 25 of us, and she comes up to me on break and she says, okay, you're going to channel. Well, I'd never channel. I said, I'm not doing that. There's no way. She said, no, you're going to channel. And I think I was more scared of her sometimes than anything else. And so I got up and channeled, and the first bit was a little wonky. And then I felt all this love and light come in and all these beautiful messages as I stood and walked the room. And so then I continued my teacher training, but none of it was anything I thought I would do. And I joke that I signed, my contract was in invisible ink because I don't ever remember signing and agreeing to any of this. So eventually my guides came through, and I was away in this about however many years alchemy's been around. About 9 years ago, I was away with a friend, and we were packing up. We'd been staying at a hotel at a resort on the ocean for a couple of days, and we were getting ready to leave, and we decided we'd do a meditation before we'd hit the road. And then I said, I open to any beings of the light of the ninth dimension and higher who want to come through. And here I go again. I just say that out loud kind of stuff. And all of a sudden I feel and hear Lord Melchizedek, who I knew really well. And then my voice changed, and I sounded like this because the energy was so strong. That's how I spoke. And this group came through. It was the first time I channeled a collective, and they eventually I found out their name. They called themselves the Alchemy Collective Consciousness. And I could feel how high they were and the love, and Melchizedek introduced them. So I knew I was safe, so to speak. It was all good. And they asked me 3 things. They asked Saralani, who was there, 3 things. They would like to continue to meet with us for a year. And they would like to meet twice a month. And then the hard one was they asked that we would put their messages out in emails and social media for them. And that was the hard one for me because I knew nothing about them. And I don't know how, but I agreed. We both agreed. And, eventually the alchemy came into being. And we do free planetary meditations every Tuesday that you're all welcome to join. And they're all on the website. It's all free. And it's all about the Great Awakening. And so at one point, I'm supposed to share this with you. Again, Laura, some of this I don't know if you know. So one day, years in, I kind of said, it came up in a gathering at the end that this was not my life path. To be the alchemy's channel and to do all I'm doing was not really my path. I had a different path, and where it included being a mother and having children and different things. But with the time of the awakening, so the alchemy was always in the very beginning, was always to be multiple channels that would connect and share the work. And they showed me that there were 3 in the middle, and then the next circle out was 5 or 7 people, and then the next circle out had more people. So there were all these beings who had agreed to be one of the channels, who could have been, multiple. So there, as you know, there's backup plan after backup plan after backup plan with source, right? So this was the plan for the here and now, that the alchemy is a group that comes at the time of transition for a planet to co-create with them, to help with the awakening. They don't come to save, they come to co-create with the beings of that planet. And they come first for the planet herself and then for the people. So they showed me that I was back in the 5th row. I was not, there were all these other people before me that it was more of their primary contract this lifetime. But none of them had stepped forward. None of them would say yes. There was too much fear running or whatever in their life. I had an inkling who 1 or 2 of them which were people I knew that didn't want to do it. And so I guess I put my hand up and said, of course I'll do it. And the interesting thing is, when we looked at it across time and space, and this is all kind of cool, is that when I agreed to do this, not consciously, so consciously it was much later, but on a soul level, I was about 22, 24 years old. but I didn't know any of this. This was when all of this was happening, when people weren't coming forward. And I started it when I was in my 40s. But what happened is my twin flame, when all of this happened, said, I can't let you be there alone and do this. So he incarnated. So there is a 24 years between us, because he jumped in then, and the guides have told us this. So he came into birth then so that he could be with me here for that part. And of course, we didn't meet then. Well, he wasn't born yet. And so we do this together. And anyway, so what happened is I was the only one that came forward. So I started channeling the alchemy, and we started doing global meditations, and none of the other channels were coming forth. And so what happened is the alchemy started literally, physically, and energetically changing my body and my energetic system to be able to hold more and more light and more and do more, because no one else was coming forth. And we're at the stage now where there are no other channels that will come in, because they have just adjusted me so strongly. And what they shared at that time is, so it works so well with us, because I can bring through the words, but I can bring through the energies they need. And so this is where the guides call me a universal channel. So I can bring through any being of light, of source light, like of light, or collectives. And so all kinds of beings I've never heard of come through me, and new collectives. And it's so exciting right now, because all kinds of new beings are coming through with the vibration changing and the veil is thinning so much. So it's why I bring through all the newest tools and processes and energies, is because of this, is because I can do both. And quite frankly, I had no idea of any of this. I thought every person who channeled brought through multiple beings of light and brought through the energy and all of that. So I, like I said, I've never been educated in all of this. It's just all come through. And I know, how do I explain this? Lori, your group does astrology as well, right? Is that correct? Some do astrology.
There are some members of the congregation.
Okay.
Astrology, but it is not.
Okay. So a friend of mine who does astrology, she's been doing it 40 years. She's a master astrologist. The guides told me. She offered to do a reading for my birthday, and I know nothing about astrology. I could tell you my sign, and that's about it. But she shared, and I apologize to, because I know I'm going to get this wrong, but the guides told me I had to tell you. There's some part of the chart that shows you, I think it's about communication, right? How you communicate. Any of you that are in astrology, there's some part of the chart that has something to do with that. Well, my communications are off world, and she'd only ever seen one being before that ever, in her 50 years of doing these, that had it off world. And so she's wanting to write an article about what a channel looks like. So apparently that's part of why. And I don't know anything about astrology. So, but I was supposed to share that with some of you that know about astrology. So that's kind of how the alchemy came into play. And we've been working 9 years on that. And then, so I really follow, my guides come in all the time, but one of the messages I want to share with you is that I always say yes. Only once in all my years of this, I have said no. And I always say yes. So it leads me on these journeys. I said yes to the alchemy, and my whole life changed. And my twin flame came in. And I've said yes so many times when I didn't know where it was going to take me. And I just trust that if I'm asking. The only time I said no was I was asked to open up one of the Egyptian mystery schools on Earth again. And I said no, because by then I was already doing the alchemy, and I couldn't do both. And when I was doing all this, I was working full-time in corporate work. So eventually I left my corporate job and opened my own company, Sparkles of Love, and start because my guides really wanted me to do this full time. So I left my last day was on a Friday, and my mom died on the Sunday, and my father had died a long time before. It was like, she said, okay, she's out of there. So the next 6 months were, back and forth in Ontario and British Columbia, and helping my sister and brother with the estate and moving and all of that stuff. And so 6 months after all of that, it was sort of January, and I sat down and went, oh my God, I've left my job. I had planned 6 months financially, and I haven't even worked. I haven't even started anything because I was so exhausted from work and then everything going on. And so I sat in my living room and I said, okay, I need some help. Like, I've quit like you wanted me to. How do I pay the mortgage? How do I feed the dog? What do I do now? I don't have clients. I don't have anything. And the room filled with angels and beings of light, just filled. My whole living room just filled. And they gave me what eventually became called the messages from the enlightened ones. And they lined up and they gave me the first 24 sessions that I was to channel. And each one was a different being of light. And I was given the order and the topic. And they came back the next week and they gave me each one of them gave me the advertising tagline. And eventually I did 5, and they were groups of 12. So I had the first 2, we short form and call them mellow. And I eventually did 5 of them. And this is where I started, where they came to help. And it was all the newest information on planet Earth, the newest things that were being channeled. And so this is where, because I trust, there has been so much that's happened with all of that. And from there, we did alchemy gatherings. We do 2 of those a year before the silliness that happened the last 2 years. Before that, we would do 2 in person. We've been doing them online, and we are going back to in person again. And that's where we would get together for 5-6 days and do deep, deep, deep work for the planet to raise the vibration, to help bring more source light on, to help awaken people. And through all that is where the birth of the new consciousness came. And so that kind of gives you a little bit of an overview. And I feel blessed because now I do Sparkles of Love full time. And with all my upgrades and with all the changes on planet Earth, with the vibration being so strong and with the diamond light, is that more and more is possible for everyone now, for all of us, no matter where we are on our journey, no matter our age. And the other big thing that all of my guides talk about is how important it is to stay out of fear and out of judgment. And, being in human form is pretty hard not to. And so we're still all going to have some of that come up. But to move out of it, the faster you can move out of fear, the better for you, the better for the planet. And the less we can stay out of judgment, because it's really easy to point fingers and say, they're the bad guys. Look at what they've done. You know what? It's a play. Everybody's playing their roles, and our roles as awakened beings is to hold the light, is to be the love, is to shine that light and to live kindness. And the more that we can be in that vibration of love and peace, the more that we can, observe rather than say, oh, this is wrong or this is wrong, and allow, the more we're helping in ways we don't even understand. And so this is, where my life has been led. And I feel so deeply, deeply blessed to do that. And so what I thought is, I'm going to open up for some questions for a few minutes. And then what I'll do is then I will bring through some other, I'll channel whoever wants to come through. So I know, I'm sorry, I've sort of told you all these things all at once. So, but if anybody has any questions, I'm more than happy for me to answer, or one of my guides. But I will tell you up front, there is a lot of questions they won't answer. Like if people say, what's going to happen next? They're not going to talk about it. Who's going to win this election? They don't do that kind of stuff because it's too limiting. And, but, You can always try. So are there any questions that you want to ask me or the guides before we go into a little meditation?
Hi, my name's Deborah. I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Deborah.
I am a bit of a channel myself.
Okay.
And I get awakened early in the morning and I write the information that I'm given.
Okay.
And I was writing a lot during COVID, you know, when I was at home from work. And I had a little tribe of 4 people I would send the information out to. And I had thought the information would be published at some point. I've had a falling out with one of my the Scribe Tribe members, and I felt it was an attack. And because of past life things where, you know, fear, you talked about the fear. I'm wondering, you know, what I should do with I call it scribing, that I record the message that I'm given. Okay. So I'm wondering what you've got to say about that.
Okay. So the first thing as you're talking that comes up is if you go to my website, and I think Laura had given it to you, it's sparklesoflove.love. On the front page is a gift for people if they sign up for the newsletter, and it's a karma clearing. And you can use it thousands of times. You just download it. My guides brought it through. It's really high level. And you want to clear your past life stuff with this individual. Okay. And because you don't want that energy around all the scribing, because I can still feel some of the energy of it, you know, the upset of it, whether it was attack or not attack, things fell apart. Okay. So that's the first part. And, okay, so let me just tune into it here. So what I'm getting is to have someone else that you trust always also read the information or listen to the information because if you're doing that work, the most important piece in it, or for me, and what I always been told, is that you're bringing through truth, right? And we're not saying that you're not, so just to be clear, but you always want to have someone else, especially when you're starting, read it or listening to it to feel the truth of it, because truth has a vibration. And once you know, because when you're starting, you've got to move into that level of trust, and you can go back and read and feel if something's off, even a line or two or a word or two. So that's good practice to do. And then what I'm seeing is that you can still have it published, but it doesn't. Why don't you publish it on a blog or on a website, or even do YouTube stuff with it? Because that's the easiest way to reach people now. Does that resonate with you?
Yes, and that's part of the reason I did that. I had the tribe. I had 4 other people who would read it. I would type it up in the morning, and they would read it. And I did that kind of as a safety valve, that they could question the entity I was channeling. But someone waited 20 months to attack me on something that was written 20 months earlier.
Okay. So I would invite you to change your language around the word attack. Okay. Because that in itself has an energetic. So let's just say they questioned, and whether it was strong or not, because question is a little more neutral. So and you want to, it feels really important to do your piece of work around the healing of it, the relationship with this other individual. It doesn't matter whether they do their piece, but you need to do your piece with it, because it's going to be a little bit of a block for you. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And then just, you know, it's nice to be able to start sharing it, because there's so many messages that are needed for people of all kinds of levels of awakening, right? We're all at different spots, and some people need the beginning stuff, and some people need the advance, and some people are waiting for just what you've brought through. And the other piece that I would say to you that I learned a long time ago that has served me well is when I sit down to channel, I always, unless it's because I now know the feeling and energetic of many of the beings I channel, but I always started by asking for a seventh dimension or higher of pure light, so that I'm specific. Because once you're starting there, you're not getting distortions. Because if you're going from the lower vibrations, it's still, even though like 5D and 6D and 4D, it's easy to get distortions in there. Okay, so it's just a way to make it easier for you.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. And Julie, yes, I think the recording, it is being recorded. So I think the recording is going to be available. Yes. Does anyone else have a question? Yes, Esther. Oh, nope, sorry, I can't see. It is TBV.
You'll need to unmute, Teresa.
Okay, I'm not sure how much of a question this actually is. And I know that Laura has told us that the alchemy doesn't want us to like picture the future or anything. Just let it be. Let it flow to us, you know. Okay, that's awesome. And we do the daily affirmation, which I love. But, you know, teachers of manifestation guidelines and stuff have long tooted the horn of think from the end. Okay, yeah. You know, be grateful, give gratitude for what you're seeking to have already been, you know, and yeah. Just hold that vibration of great gratitude for it and such. So when January rolled around this year, doing the daily affirmation, I'm like, wait a minute, it's January. Within 2022, this isn't going to be a future thing. And instead of saying all of humanity will have a sovereign future, I've stopped and substituted the word future with existence. So they'll have a sovereign existence. And then come around to the end of June, I missed the last Tuesday transmission. So I watched it on either July 1st or July 2nd, and it hit me, oh, I'm still in the future here. So now I've changed it. Instead of will have a sovereign existence, it's has. All of, you know, within 22, all of humanity has a sovereign existence. Now, what do they think about that? It makes me feel better.
Oh, we lost you, Teresa. We lost. Did I get lost?
No, you're still going.
Teresa's muted.
Teresa, you got muted. Okay. So I didn't hear the end of your question, but okay. Okay, so you make a good point, and one other person has brought it up recently, and so I can only share what the alchemy has shared with me around it. And oh wait, they're gonna talk. That's okay. So just 1 second. Greetings, beloved ones. We are the alchemy, and it is our pleasure to be present with each of you this day. Our love and blessings to you, and our gratitude to the Laura One for allowing us and AnaLaRai and the others to be present with all of you this day. We hear your words and we understand what you're saying about manifestation and what you are taught. But what we want you to understand is the words were co-created with humans during a live alchemy global meditation and with us, and they hold a vibrational frequency. And so this is why we ask people to not change the words. And so in the human form, the mind is concerned about what is future and what is present, but you must remember, for us, there is no time. And what happens is, for many, should we be saying the word now, for example, that all of this has happened now or has happened, is they move into a space of doubt. And that vibration is far more harm. Now, when you are working individually on your own beliefs, not our thing for the planet, on your own thing, we understand why you say mantras and gratitudes as though they have always happened. We understand this completely. But we are working with this with a vibrational frequency of those specific words to create an energetic that is moving through your time and space. And so if people start to change the words, it causes ripples that are a little different. And we are still trying to hold this frequency, because what we are trying to create for all of you with this intention is exactly what the intention says: sovereignty, peace, health for all. But as you know, that is unfortunately still not a simple thing to do. And so it is hard for us, AnaLaRai, and we have discussions all the time, and we did when these were created, because one of the questions was that we had, and we have never shared this out loud, is should we have even used the words in 2022? Because it sets an expectation. And does that mean if it has still not happened in 2023 that it's a failure? We would say no, it is not. Because it is what an energetic you are trying to create. And the reason we don't, the reason that we say to you not to imagine what your future looks like, because what will happen on the human level is this might make it more sense. If we took 10 humans, random humans, yourselves included, and we say, what does the future look like? Many of them will say there's no debt. There is, the banking systems are down, the schools are different. There are all these rules and regulations that they talk about. But what we say to you is the future is so different, you can't even comprehend it yet. And so each time that you say you want the future to look like this, you have now limited what we can create, what the co-creation is. And we know that sounds odd, but it's like if you said everyone has a 1,000 square foot house. What if there was no need for houses anymore? If something else was coming forth that was totally different, you all had your own energy pod that you lived within. But if we set it as housing, we've now limited all the other things. And we share with you that what comes is beyond what your imaginations can feel right now. So we hope, Teresa, that answers your question. And we really appreciate you asking, because we know that there are others who have thought of this and asked us.
Thank you so much.
You are so welcome, beloved one. You are so welcome.
I'm glad this is being recorded, because that phone call did knock the audio out of my hearing aids. So I'm turning my hearing aids up and I could just barely hear that. So hopefully the recording will be at good audio level for me so I catch the whole answer again. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. And we will take time for one more question, and then we will, AnaLaRai has others who wish to come forward.
So I have one. I don't know what to do this, but they won't leave me alone. So I'm seeing the beginning of things, not necessarily what society has programmed us to believe. And I'm having a hard time, not just thinking I'm going crazy, but trying to use that information within my own household, my own family.
Okay.
My child is misbehaving, and I'm not seeing it as a problem because I feel like there's not supposed to be any rules and any programming, and he's just living his own experience. That's how he's supposed to live. And my husband is seeing him as a problem child and wants to punish him, and we're having two different views, but I keep getting all of this insight on how it was supposed to be in the beginning to where it is now. And I feel like I'm the only one that sees this, and I'm just trying to figure out why. And what am I supposed to do with it?
And your name is, your first name?
Nicole.
Nicole. Okay. Beloved one, we are the divine mothers, and we wrap you and your child and your husband in our love. What is happening is you are seeing the different states, and you are seeing what could be and what is now. And so what we would suggest to you is you are being given this information, but what you have to do is you have to take this information. So here is you, here is the husband, but you have to move to the here so that he can too. So you have to find the middle ground between these two spaces, because as a parent, there is still responsibility in keeping the children safe and allowing them their experiences, but understanding that experiences have consequences. And that doesn't mean, we don't mean punishment when we say consequences, that actions, there are actions and reactions and consequences of choices, good and bad. And so what we ask you to do is, with all of this new information, is to use it knowing that's where you are moving towards, but you aren't there yet. The planet isn't there yet. And so you are being gifted this information to start to be able to find more of a middle ground, because there needs to be a place to start. Does this make sense to you, beloved one?
Yes, it does.
Our blessings to you and the family. We are the divine mothers. All right. All right. So I feel like there's, oh, we haven't done Non. Non wants to, okay, that's what it is. Okay. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to do a download for you of, let me just, I have to put the timer on because I have a tendency to go out and then you'll really be in trouble. Because normally we only do three to 5 minutes. It's so strong. So I'm going to set it at 3 minutes and you'll hear my timer go off. So let me tell you a little bit about what this is. And then I just want to share a couple quick things before. If you want to learn and feel a little more about the New Earth Consciousness, I'm on a summit that starts tomorrow with 33 speakers from around the world. A lady in South Africa has organized it. It's all free. It's called the Summit for the Soul Aligned Leaders. And Laura, if I send you the link, would you be okay to send it out to people?
Of course.
And of course, I feel blessed. I'm on day 3. I'm on the full moon, and it is the little one comes through and you get to experience her. And so that is, and then there's 32 other amazing speakers, and they all give you gifts. So if you listen, there's all kinds of gifts with it as well, including from me. So I'll send you that. And then what you're about to experience, the download, I'm doing 11 days of this in August. So if this is something that resonates with you, Non has asked me to add an extra 11 days in, and then we're doing it in the fall again. So Non is from the family of El, and they are beyond the dimensions. I don't quite understand it. That's just what I know. And it's called the family of El. And they are these amazing pure light beings. And he has come through since last year at different times. And what he does, he and I do together, is they connect. It's like, oh, how would I explain it? It's like putting a connection between your highest self and your heart, like a direct flow, because we're all connected to our highest self, obviously. But it's like clogged drain pipes is our connection to our highest selves. And the more work we do, the clearer we become, the easier the information flows and the energy flows. But we're like clogged drain pipes. So what Non and I do is we put a temporary, pure connection between your highest self and your own heart and through your body. And because of the vibrations on planet Earth now, what they can do is they're downloads, energetic downloads of your original blueprint. So what we all are in human form is a copy of 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 a copy. So it's like we all know our cells reproduce really quickly and all of that, but we're also reproducing all our wounds and genetic distortions and all of that. So what's happening now on a lot of levels is they're starting to bring in our original pieces, our original blueprints, so that we can have heaven on earth, so to speak. So Non and I will set this up, and then we'll go into silence for the 3 minutes. I invite you to just feel and close your eyes, and really suggest you drink lots of water over the next couple of days. And some of you will have an experience and some of you might not, but you will all receive. All will receive. And Laura, you have done the essence of, and we call it the essence of purity. Laura, you've done some of them, haven't you? I think so.
I've done all of them up until this point.
Yeah. And do you feel them as they come in?
Oh yes. It's if you're looking for clarity on a particular issue, this is really, really helpful.
Yeah.
It clears everything else.
Yeah. And it helps you. The purpose of it is to help you remember who you really are, right? That's what all the guides are working on now, is helping us remember our magnificence, who we really are on all levels, not just the human form. Remember who we are on a soul level with all our gifts and abilities and light. Any questions about this before I start, about the download? And then I know my time is, I've taken lots of your time, so. Okay. All right, so what we'll do is I will get set up, and then once the download starts, I'll move into the silence, and then I will come back when it's done. And but in case anybody can't speak, including me, thank you for having me. It's been my pleasure, and thank you, Laura, for organizing this. And there's 3 or 4 free meditations on my website, and there's my blog there, and I have YouTube videos. So there's lots of energetic stuff if you want to take a look and be part of it all. So thank you so much for having me here today.
Oh, thank you, AnaLaRai. We're blessed to have you.
Well, and it's just such a lovely group of souls. There's just so much light there. So it's really cool. All right. So eyes closed, please. Let me just merge with Non first. Greetings. I am Non, and we are of the family of El. Feel now as AnaLaRai and I create the conduit to connect your highest self and your human self, so your individual essence of purity may flow right in to your physical form and down into the heart space. We remind you to drink of the water, and we would invite you to not drive for at least 15 of your minutes, maybe a little longer if you want to sit and talk or move your body, but to not drive. And so we begin. Let us just set this up. And feel now as your essence of purity begins to flow. And so, beloveds, your download is complete. I am Non, and I invite you to partake with AnaLaRai and I in August, should you desire, to receive 11 days of 5 minutes of downloads. Our blessings and love to each of you. I am Non, and we are of the family of El. How's everybody doing?
Most everybody looks like they're back. I think we're doing okay.
All right. Thank you so much as the time rolls over to 10 o'clock, and I really appreciate it. And it's lovely to meet so many of you. Laura, I'll send you a little email with the link for the summit, and yeah. And you can share that, and then the link if anyone's interested for the 11 days. They really, the essence of purity really build upon each other. So they connotate it to like putting a dropper, like a drops of water into a glass, that it takes a while to fill up. And the more you have, the more, the stronger it gets. So, all right. Have a great Sunday, everybody. And thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, AnaLaRai.
You're very welcome. Bye.